Mike's Daily Podcast.
When all they do is end up on the ground anyway. Hi, I'm Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Café Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont, the last place on earth. And it is so smoky here, my friend. As you may know, if you are living in the Bay Area. Hey, guess what I learned this morning, as I drove into work? I was thinking about things and I thought,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I have, in 1 week, my birthday. I'll be 50.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I am strong, I can stretch, and I can kick.
I love it, I love it, I love it.
And I think I'm kind of quick, but then I sometimes go, I am slow. Oh, and I have done this podcast now for how long? Shmo, let's see, 1,746, I think.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
By my estimate. I just heard on the way in about the
Mike's Daily Podcast.
The fires that...
Yeah!
There was a guy in Paradise who was able to fend off the flames himself because he had a bunch of fire hoses. He had flame retardant uniform. His wife and him had flame retardant armor. They, look who just walked in. They had a backup generator and water. I mean, these people were just... That's just amazing to me. Forget about you having your own guns and your ammunition closet or whatever the hell. Gun rack. Why would I have use for a gun rack, let alone a gun? No, but that is some reference to something. Look who else walked in. That is episode 1746. Talk about the Nick Offerman way of doing things. Dang! And they fended off the flames in Paradise. I had talked to my mom last evening. I had the most wonderful... That wasn't necessary. Soap opera sound effect. Yes, I know sometimes talking to your mom might be a little scary for you. But mine was... last evening was very enjoyable, talking to my mom with my lovely lady friend as well. We had my mom on speakerphone from Florida. And speaking of my lovely lady friend...
And here's today's podcast picture.
That dovetails nicely into the podcast picture, which is me and my lovely lady friend. Now, Basil the Boxer is implied in this picture because we're actually at a pet store. And this is the pet store that I was talking about, I think, on the last show. Basil. And Basil got sick eating a treat that came from this pet store. I will not say the name of it on this show. But yes... He got sick. Episode 1746. He is still recuperating. He got really sick. Was it on... Tuesday. And it was from this dried fish cod skins thing that they sell there. So we're going to return that. But yes, we actually went down to Castro Valley Boulevard on Saturday because we thought it was going to be the Parade of Lights that they do every year. Meet in the street. It all began when Castro Valley Boulevard got a big facelift. I think it took like 2 or 3 years for them to finish it. And when it was done, they finished it around December, and they said, let's do a big celebration. And also, why don't we have, since we've never had this before, let's actually have a Christmas parade. And we'll have light. We'll do it in the evening so people can have cool lights, kind of like one of those boat Christmas parade things that you see in the harbor. And I actually was a not mascot, not MC. What do you call it? The guy that's the main person, not the maitre d'. The person of honor, or whatever that's called in a parade. I was actually one for a parade in the Channel Islands Harbor in Ventura County. This was in 1998. I was the honorary person in that parade of lights. Wink Martindale. Okay, so actually, to be more specific, I was the person of honor on the Friday parade of lights. They did 2 parade of lights, one Friday, one Saturday night. And they did this because the previous year, they had it all planned to do Saturday. And people come up from LA to see this stupid thing. And apparently there was really strong winds, which is happening now in Ventura County. And that's thus the cause of a lot of these horrible fires. And so when it's that strong of a wind, the boats can't really go and do this nice leisurely parade because they're bumping into each other, bumping into the docks, etc. And people are in danger. And it's just not nice to be out there. So they decided the following year, why don't we do 2 just in case one gets canceled? And then they asked me, I was Matt Michaels at the time on KHAY, if you would like to be the person of honor in the parade. And I said, yes. All right. So I was. And then I remember they asked me, well, all of our guests of honor get whatever they want in as far as like food or drink. And I said, I want Pete's Wicked Ale, because that was really big at the time. Pete's Wicked Ale. So they gave me a cooler full of Pete's Wicked Ale. And I was up there waving to people, and people were waving to me, and they had the lights on me and on this boat. And it was the most awesome. I think it was probably the pinnacle of my celebritydom. And that's it. That I was the maitre d', or whatever you call it, of the parade. The honoree. And waving to the people going, who the hell is that guy? And I think I might have been wearing the hat that my lovely lady friend is wearing in this picture. We went down to the parade. We went down to the gay parade. No, that's actually a song by... not Weezer. Guster. There's a band called Guster, if you didn't know. They also have that song, You're My Satellite. And they have a huge following. Anywho, I heard this fantastic band on KEXP, their radio station out of Seattle, and they have a podcast where they have live bands. Personally, here it goes. I'm just going to say it. I used to interview all these musicians, and then I would play some of their music, their recorded music. But going back and listening to that stuff, that just doesn't really seem interesting to me. What's cool is if you show up and actually perform live, because that shows you have talent. Because anybody can go into a studio now and record stuff, and you can put the recording software on your computer and do the Pro Tools or whatever, and record in GarageBand. But to actually interview a band, and this was such a good interview. It's the latest one. I think they're called something Bright. Something Smoky Bright, I think is their name. And they were awesome. They did 5 songs. Just really fun, high energy songs, live, great sound. And it made me excited about live music again, because I haven't really seen any live music lately. And I got friends that are all into live music. And lately I've been just like, yeah, whatever. But no, I'm like, I want to go. I want to see some live music again. And I don't want to see big names. I don't want to keep your Hall & Oates, keep your Tears for Fears, keep your Bad Word Def Leopards and your REO Speedwagons and all the, somebody invited me to see Beyonce. I know 2 Beyonce songs. That show would be a bore for me. But Mike, she dances and she's beautiful. Yeah, okay. And Jay-Z was going to be there. Yeah, okay. That's what I have for you. Yeah, okay. And the guy who's like 20 years older than me said to me, Mike, is there any way you can get those tickets? You turned them down, but can you go ahead and call them back and you say, please, I was just kidding. Can you go ahead and do that, Mike, please? I'm like, what do you care? I saw Jay-Z on a David Letterman interview on Netflix. It was delicious. Netflix. With the David Letterman, who looks like a big bird's nest now, with the little head popping out of the bird's nest. I really wish, Mike, right about now you had a tweeting sound effect. Thank yous. So, to sum up, concerts suck unless it's an up-and-coming band that's struggling, that's beating the pavement and living out of a van down by the river and eating out of cans, and they're hard-working people. That's the band you got to see. The one that's up and coming that nobody knows about. You got to go see that band. Give that band all your time. Screw the big names. Okay, so back to my story about... So my lovely lady friend and I went down to this we were walking down to Castro Valley Boulevard, and we had Basil the Boxer with us, actually, on our walk. And we got some nice eggnog at a little coffee place. It was a fun evening, and we popped into the pet food place, and then got the treats there that almost killed my dog. Thank you, stupid pet store. And anywho... that was a picture from that evening. You can see that at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Heard about a new podcast hosting website. I guess it's a app. And I am on it. I didn't even know it. And I claimed my site. You know how on Yelp, if you have a restaurant and people have been doing reviews about you. Oh, Yelp is going down. Yelp deserves it. I used to do this bit. I'm not going to play I have it somewhere. It's why the hell did I Yelp about that or something, I think is what I used to call the segment. And it just that Yelp got all this free input from people, because people like to go out and eat because they're lazy, they don't want to cook at home, and so they go out and eat, and they just give Yelp all this free content, and it used to irritate me. And Yelp is going down. Their stock is plummeting. Their advertisers are jumping ship. They can't get people to advertise. That's what keeps them going. So, yes, I'm so happy about that. My point being that there we were enjoying the little walk. Oh, because there was no parade. We kind of made our own holiday parade. My lovely lady friend and I, and Basil the Boxer, all dressed in our little holiday stuff. But the parade was canceled because of the fires, because of the smoke. And it's supposed to be this weekend, but I don't think that's going to happen because it's still smoky. It's still disgusting. 1 week till my birthday. I can't believe it. Oh, all right. So, yes, the podcast website is called Castbox, which I don't think is the best name because it sounds like Cashbox, and Cashbox is this well-known something company. Castbox, it's okay, like a podcast, and then it's a box. I guess like Dropbox or something. So I wish them all the luck. I talked to Renee Wang, I think is her name. She, very nice lady who founded Castbox by basically selling her house and starting this company, starting this app, this startup. And her whole angle is people don't know how to monetize podcasts. And she's absolutely right. I hear that question constantly from people when they find out I do a podcast. They're, Mike, how do you make money off that? No. Oh, so it's like a hobby, right? Like catching butterflies. Stupid idiot. That's what I just said. I'm an idiot. And then, so Castbox actually helps you make money by putting a link on the app. Like, if you like this podcast, hit this button, and it links to wherever if you got a PayPal account or Patreon or one of those wingdings. So that was a fascinating, very nice lady. I met her, Renee Wang, and got to record a show. I wasn't on the show, but I was engineering it for someone named Keith Koo that does a show that's heard on one of the radio stations I work for. So somebody else, however, someone entirely different for an entirely different radio station. So I'm wrapping up with Keith doing his show, and this lady who was scheduled for, I think, like 11 o'clock or something. She came in a little early, and so she wants to record her show, but we only have 2 studios, and the other person, there's someone recording in that other studio. So she's walking around the halls looking a little upset, like, why isn't anyone taking care of me? So this is the same person who had an issue with me because, all right, well, first off, she's always bragging that she's been in radio and TV for like 50 years. Okay, you got me beat. I've only been on the planet for about 50 years. But I have been in radio for, right around 35 years now. So you can take your bragging and put it where we don't have to, because your bragging's idiotic. So stop with the bragging, stop with the boasting, stop with your lack of humility. And let's talk about the fact that I have been in radio and consumed radio my entire life. And I know I have basically what talking heads used to call a radio head, which became then a band, as you well know. But there is with the Thom Yorke. And so she does 2 segments. So there's 2 parts of her show. The first part, then we break for commercials, then the second part. It's a half-hour show. Okay, she goes in, she's recording the first segment. I give her time cues to wrap up the segment. We're done. Okay. She goes, and then she gets mad at me. She goes, okay, that's the end of the show. And I go, wait, don't you have 2 segments? Well, why did you tell me to stop? Like, she had this huge tizzy fit over nothing. I'm like, no, you have a second segment, but you told me to stop. And she walks out. Like she really had an issue with me that made no sense whatsoever. And then, as I've talked about on the show before, she brought it up in front of me, not behind my back, but like, she goes, oh, this guy, and she's talking to somebody else I work with. This guy messed up my show. So she's having a tizzy fit yesterday because she wasn't getting appropriate attention. And I don't condone, if you act like a diva, there's no excuse for that. I don't care if you've been on this planet for 80 years. You can't act like a diva. You got to act like a nice person. You got to act like a human being. Because you're rude. You're just rude. There's no excuse for the way you're acting.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way.
That's all I'm saying as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Talking to my mom yesterday with my lovely lady friend, I discovered that, in fact, there was someone, when I got married, that marriage ended, as you've probably learned by listening to this podcast over the years. But yes, when I was married, the wedding was held in the Bay Area, and my mom flew out from Florida for it. And a friend of hers that she knew back in Ventura, Oxnard area drove down. He had retired. I think he was a mailman at one time. He had retired and moved up to Paradise. Yes, he lived in Paradise. And I had completely forgotten about this until my mom brought it up last night. Because we were talking about that and about the borderline. And I talked to Joe, who I went to high school with. He went once to the borderline to see something I was doing there because I was with Kay and we used to do a bunch of stuff there. So all this timely stuff is going on, all these news headlines that I wish weren't so timely. Yeah, this guy had lived in Paradise. Now, my mom hasn't talked to this guy in like over 10 years because he was a total freeloader, and he would just invite himself to Florida to stay with my mom for a week. And my mom would be, okay, all right, I guess come over. I don't really like you, but whatever. And she was just being nice. And so he lived in a mobile home, and we were discussing this, and my mom said, he probably is fine because he was such a freeloader. He probably jumped on somebody's fire truck and got the hell out of there. But yeah, I knew I remembered that name from somewhere, and that was this guy. So he had driven down for my wedding, and I guess basically picked up my mom. I think he stayed with my mom in the hotel, even though they were not really an item thing, but he was such a freeloader. I don't know. What a freeloader. And what a fun podcast this has been, huh? We learned a lot. There's a lot I missed, but I got this big hat on my head, the same one that you see in the podcast picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. And you can also email me like Randall did. I haven't heard from Randall in a long time. He sent me an email saying he still listens. Thank you so much, Randall. And he's in Maine. Holy crap. I've never been to Maine. I want to go to Maine. Maine justice, y'all. This is Maine justice. And I'd love to see the leaves turn this time of year. But yeah, Mike's Daily Podcast at gmail.com is how you can email me. And there's a myriad of places. You can listen to the show now on Spotify. A link to that at mikesdailypodcast.com. Next show, it'll be the wonderful... Oh, we didn't say hi to the characters. This is becoming a thing.
Really?
Let's say hi to them. Hello, Michael Matthew. Yes, I've been standing out in the cold and the smoke, trying to get your attention. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've been doing that. How about you?
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino the Bear.
Yorke attendant, and look who just drived into the Café Anyway, even though drive is not a word.
It's me, Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Bison Bentley. Do you know that? All right, thanks for driving into Café Anyway. You will pay for that damage. One way or another. Go. That's no more dialogue. End of script. End of show. Thanks for listening. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!